Hi everybody, welcome to another 12 FPS. It's with the same crew as usual, but different parts, which is neat. I'm Uni, and I'm playing that kid. You know the one, probably.
Probably. And hello, my name is Fable, and today I'm playing March.
We're not playing old men.
We're not playing old men, we're trying something new. Instead, we're playing
Um,
one adult and one young adult and one child.
so it has been maybe a couple of days since the last expedition into the mountain where they rescued Hark. Um, March, what have you been up to since then?
Uh, Honestly, I think the first few days or two, March was keeping an eye on Hark, just because the guys seemed very intent on overworking. And March, I think, aside from Petra, is the only other physically capable person of picking Hark up and carrying the guy to bed. Uh, Other than that, I think he's been helping out. He's been waiting on a new shirt because his last one got wrecked by him summoning too many inky arms. So I
He
think he's
was just too swole.
he's too
And by
swole.
that I mean swollen from all the ink.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think he's been just walking around the last couple days without a shirt.
Well, I'm going to start us off right at the beginning. Make a perception check.
Heck yeah, perception. I'm proficient in that. Thank God. 21.
21. So yeah, you have absolutely noticed at this point that you have not seen the child like since you guys got back from the mountain. Like they do generally make themselves scarce, so it's not that weird at first,
Yeah.
but usually you wind up seeing them playing in the fountain, playing with Tudo or Real, um doing something around, but you just like have not caught sight of them at all.
Nope. Yeah, I think probably I want to say the first 2 days since he was busy, like when he first noticed it, it wasn't weird, but then the second day he was like, huh, I still haven't seen the kid, but I'm a bit busy, so maybe they're just with someone else. On the third day, he was like, okay, I feel like I should have seen the kid at some point, and I've not heard anyone mention the kid either. So I think I will go looking for the kid.
Hmm. Um,
I think he checks the fountain. I think he goes and he asks the other kids if they've seen the child. Uh,
and none of they have not.
then he starts checking like the outskirts because he knows the kid favors hiding in trees and the bushes.
I'm gonna say go ahead and make an investigation check to see
All
how
right.
long it takes you to track them down.
Investigation. I am not proficient in that one. It's a 15 though.
Yeah, that's still pretty good. It does take you a while, but you do eventually manage to locate the kid. Like their tail is poking out from or dangling down from like a tree branch.
Has the child noticed March standing under the tree?
I'll make a perception check to see if they have.
Because as soon as he sees the tail, he's just gonna go up to the tree and just. I think he's just gonna stand there for a bit and wait to be noticed.
After a moment, the kid seems pretty distracted, but um, as they see March approach, they actually um, stiffen up and try to hop away through the trees.
So I guess you gotta make. I think. Do you want to make a roll for that?
Yeah, I think that would be
Acrobatic?
athletics.
That or acrobatics?
It's the same plus for them either way.
Oh, neat.
13. They're not like they're not doing crazy ninja flips or whatever, but
Yeah.
um they are doing it.
Are they just
They're
going to the.
not being uh I will say like They're not doing a vanish into the foliage if March cares to follow. They're
March, I
not
think
covering
March,
the trail.
he tilts his head a little bit, and I think he just walks from under the one tree to under the other. And he's just once again standing under the child, standing underneath the branch the child is on, and just goes, "Hi."
Child squints down at him and looks a little uncomfortable, but after a second gives a very tiny wave.
I haven't seen you at all past couple days. Have you eaten?
They shrug a little.
Hmm. Wait right there. And March is gonna go back towards town. And I think I want to make this kind of a toonish gag where you just hear a cacophony of noise. And oh man, what do I roll to get food? Because I know March could easily go to Tia or to Noctis to get food, but I feel like he's like gonna try and get food on his own.
Aw.
I don't know what to roll for that. Maybe another. I don't know what that would be. Another investigation, I guess. No, survival.
Yeah, I think survival.
Yeah, let's do survival. That has a better modifier than investigation. It's a dirty 20.
30-20, nice.
All
Yeah.
right. I think
Yeah,
what
you
oh, I think what March did is that he literally just went to the kitchen in the inn and scrounged up what he could from the fridge and made and I'm gonna say he made an omelet.
Aw, nice.
Yeah, he didn't make an everything omelet. He just made a regular omelet with like some cheese and veggies and some ham,
Nice.
and then put it on a plate, uh, fork and knife, napkins, the whole shebang, and then walked back out to the tree. The he hopes the child is still is the child still on the tree?
Perception check.
Oh, okay, 15.
15. For a second, you think the child has run away, but as you look around, you see they have hopped to yet another tree.
March once again goes over to that tree, looks up. Hmm. I think what he's gonna do is that he's gonna turn his back to the tree and sit down, but do that toonish sit down that when he sits, the tree and maybe the omelet like lift in the air for a few seconds before going back into the
Oh,
ground.
big boy.
He's a big boy.
Um,
I just like making that gag. And
it's a good one. Well, I guess I'll make a dex check to see if they stay up in the tree.
okay, it wasn't the intention to make. Oh no.
There's like they nearly like fall off. They do the like cat sort of like clawing at the branch before finally popping down next to March.
Oh, and March actually perks up a little. Oh, I didn't think you'd come down that quick. Here you go. And he just holds the plate to them, out to them.
Child, they look a little bit anxious. They sort of shrink away from him.
Gonna roll insight. There's a 6. March has no idea what's going on. Uh,
No.
I think
After a second, the child does very hesitantly just like reach out and like take the omelet just like straight in their hand, tries to grab a piece, and it's like, oh, it's all one thing. And they're trying to pick at it.
March March does very carefully because he has to pick it up between his fingers to not get ink on it. But he does
Mhm.
pick up the fork and hold it out to them.
Child makes a face.
March tilts his head.
As if to make a point, the child like puffs, just like picks up the entire omelet in their hand, drips some cheese and egg as they eat it with their hands.
Are you sure you don't want to use a fork? You might lose all the cheese and everything from the other end. And he actually points at the bit that's starting to drip out of it.
The child looks a little bit alarmed. It starts like trying to like lift it up to eat it from the bottom.
March like adjusts the plate so it's directly below the omelet, so he doesn't lose any. Here, do you want to take the plate and the fork? It'll be easier to eat, I think.
They make another face and then
Come.
sort of you give a huff and just put the omelet back on the plate. It's like partially eaten, and then they just sort of cross their arms.
Oh, are you not hungry?
They nod their head, but then their stomach growls and they just look away.
Hmm. I think March then very will put the plate on the ground, and he will very carefully take the napkins he grabbed. And again, he has to use just his fingers to do this. He can't use his whole hand, so he just very carefully with the fork and the knife puts the omelet into the napkin and just folds it over so it's nice and wrapped up, and then just once again holds it out to the kid. Here, so you can save it for later. Just be sure just be sure not to lose any of the and he has to squint for a second, the good stuff in it. Yeah.
They look conflicted again, but take it and sort of.
March takes
uh,
March takes the silverware and shoves it into his arm. He'll clean
for
it later. Yeah,
safekeeping.
yeah, he'll clean it later. And I think March is just gonna sit there and look back towards the town.
The kid also, after a moment, they stare at March and then back at the town, and they like end up unfolding one little like corner of the napkin so they can keep nibbling at the omelet.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bad omelet. I rolled good on survival, so
Did, yes.
it's not a bad.
It is it is a yummy omelet, and the kid is just being very moody.
Unfortunately, March failed the insight roll, so March doesn't know this.
Yeah.
March has never dealt with a teenager or child. Either one.
Oh, preteen.
Yeah. I think March is quiet for a good bit as he's just watching the town. I think then he would look at the kid maybe if the kid doesn't do anything. Uh, he would probably look over at the kid and be like, "So, are you planning on staying here as well?"
Um, Arch, I'm gonna ask you to make a fresh insight check.
Okay. It's an 8.
It's better than before, but not by much.
Not by much.
Um, what you can tell is that the kid still looks very concerned.
I think March just kind of tilts his head again.
Finally, the kid, um, they sort of like take a deep breath and then shake their head.
March not. Then March nods. Looks back towards the town quietly. Yeah, I don't know if I'll stay either. It's nice though. People are nice.
They nod.
Though, I don't know how to tell Tia. I haven't. He actually looks at the kid. Can you keep a secret?
They tilt their head and sort of like their tail beats against the ground once. And they give a little nod.
I. And March looks at the ground a little bit. I haven't been sleeping on the bed. I don't know how to. I don't know how to tell Tia that I'll get ink on it if I lay on it, and then it'll get really dirty. And then if it goes into the washer, then the ink will get on all the other laundry, and I don't know how to tell Tia this, and I feel kind of bad. And you actually see like a bubble, like an anxious little bubble form over March's head of this scenario of March sleeping on the bed, it gets covered in ink. Tia goes to do all the laundry, and the ink just spreads throughout all the other laundry, and now all the nice laundry is all just pitch black from ink. And Tia just makes a sad face in his thought bubble.
Oh my God. The child just seems sort of they stare at him and mm, they just like after a second they just like point up at a tree as if to ask like, why don't you sleep on one of these?
The thought bubble above March's head swaps to March sleeping in a tree, and the branch below him just breaking and him falling to the ground. I've tried that already.
Child pats a bush.
Hmm. March, I think, will get up at this point and take a look at some of the nearby bushes before going over to one and just just moves on it to lay down on top of it, and it just flattens under him, and he just goes, "Hmm, I don't think this will work either. I mean, it's not that I can't." And I think he starts sitting up now with this flattened bush under him. It's not that I can't sleep anywhere. I sleep on the ground in the room in the inn just fine, but I guess. And his thought bubble appears above his head again, and you just see a once again it's a mix of both Tia and Noctis both being they've because both of them have shown to be very much worrywarts about other people,
Hmm.
and he just imagines both of them, fretting and worrying, and he doesn't want to make them worry. Or you can roll insight on that part, but his thought bubble showing them worrying.
Yeah, I'll make a quick flat D20 to see. The kid doesn't entirely get it still, but they sort of put put a hand to their chin, think very hard, and they sort of like I think what they eventually end up doing is like making little like mouths with their hands of just like the little back and forth with their hands. Um, and they don't actually make the noises with their own mouth. There's weird little prestidigitation warbles. Um, and it's basically just like the kid is asking why you don't just talk to them.
Hmm. March looks away, and you just see the thought bubble darken a little bit before it kind of just breaks apart.
The child nods. Kind of get that.
How come you don't sleep in a bed? I mean, if I could sleep in a branch, I guess it would be comfy, but they always break when I try sleeping on them.
They tuck their knees up, like close to their chest, and look up and around, and they you see them like they do a sort of silent image of like a sort of box shape around them, and they shrink in and look very small and inside the box, and then they stretch out and wave their arms, and the box falls apart, and they don't like being indoors very much.
March actually nods quite quickly. Goes, okay, I get that. Hmm.
Child, they they look a little bit uh, it's hard to tell because they don't talk, and they are a little bit frustrated that they want to communicate something, but they don't know how.
Should I? Uh. Hmm. I don't. I'm scared of rolling another insight because our insights so far have been garbage.
They have, but I mean, you've got a decent plus to it.
I
Maybe
do.
it's just the dice really don't want these two to understand each other proper.
Maybe not on the first day, because I can see this. I can see it being a sort of maybe not a montage, but over the next couple days, I think March will make it a point to make an extra omelet in the morning and take it outside to
Mm.
the child just to make sure they've had something to eat today.
Yeah, because it usually what happened before the child got into this sort of mood was Kia would leave food out, and the kid would come and grab some when they were ready, but they haven't been doing that lately. So you, it's good that you're bringing out food to them.
I think one day he brings out more than just food. I think
Oh,
at one point child where would child be at this would they still be hanging out in a tree or a bush, or would they be somewhere else?
they might be like on the outskirts of the town, maybe like in one of the old dilapidated houses that hasn't been fixed up yet.
Cool. Cool. Maybe like with a caved in roof or something.
Yeah.
Cool. I think while you're while you're playing around, you hear March from outside. Hey, where do you want this? And if you look outside, he's standing there holding an entire mattress above his head. I I couldn't fit the bed frame through the door.
Child blinks and stares, uh, looking a little bit alarmed. And you see a like big silent image question mark appear over their head.
Oh, I was thinking, uh, you don't like you don't like being indoors a lot. So I thought I thought maybe you'd still maybe want to lay in a bed, but you don't like laying indoors, so I thought why not just bring the bed outside? I still couldn't fit the bed frame out the door, but I got the mattress.
They hesitate for a second, um, and they bite their lip. And let's try one more time. Make an insight check.
All right, okay. 18.
18. There
That's
we
that's
go.
better.
Yeah, as you've hung around the kid bit by bit, you're doing a slightly better job of reading their expressions. Um, yeah, they look a little bit anxious about the notion of accepting accepting something from you. And they end up drawing down, sort of kneeling down and drawing a picture in the dirt, and it looks a little bit like the thought bubble over that was over your head of Tia looking worried. Be like, won't she miss that?
Hmm. We just won't tell her. This is the
Your eyes get big.
this is from my room, and I don't think she's gone in there when I'm not in there. March squints a bit, unsure, but then he just looks down at the kid. Either way, we can hide this somewhere in the woods, so she won't know.
It looks like caught between like, my gosh, a scandal. This guy's a bad boy. So cool. There's a little bit of that like sparkly. um, wow. But then also still a little bit of the nerves come in. And they draw it on. So instead of Tia looking worried, she looks mad.
Hmm. You make a good point. Hmm. I have an idea. Back back where I'm from, we would always keep extra mattresses somewhere in case one got destroyed. So maybe there's an extra mattress storage somewhere here. So we just replace the mattress that I took, and Tia will never know.
they
Probably.
they sort of shift their weight from foot to foot, weighing the options, but and you could tell they're still anxious about it, but then it's like, okay, they can't really argue with that, I suppose.
Also, if she does get mad, I'll make sure she doesn't get mad at you.
And the kid thinks about that and then points at Marge like, but what about you?
March frees a hand and thumps his chest a little bit. I'm a big guy. I can take it.
I'll pass the ground just to be like, put mattress down.
March. Yeah, March just puts the mattress down on the ground.
So like they like walk around it as if studying it in a finally like lay a hand on it and squish it and do a little bit of like just like feeling the plushness of it, then jump on it with their boots, which are kind of their boots are a little bit muddy, but whatever. Um, and then they
And
sit on the mattress.
Owl has made a point to Ghiblify a lot of things here, so I'm imagining this is full on like Ghibli
Yeah,
Ghibli
yeah.
bed
Very
mattress,
nice bed.
very plush.
They finally sort of sit down on it and they look up at March and at the mattress.
Is it nice? I think March is sitting down on the just on the ground.
The child gives a smile, um, and again they pat the mattress.
March tilts his head.
They sort of wave a hand at him, like, "Come on."
March blinks and shakes his head. I'll get ink on it.
They sort of open their mouth, and there's just like this like word bubble comes out where it's like just black. It's like a big dark scribble in the middle of a word bubble, and then a happy face, as if to say, "Black is a nice color."
March March blinks, uh, looks at it, looks at the kid, looks at the mattress, looks at the bubble, looks at the kid. He does this a few times before are are you sure?
Mm. Their tail sort of flicks back and forth a little anxiously, and they they're a little bit sort of hunched in on themselves, but they give him a sort of conspiratorial little smile and nod.
March once again looks at the mattress before he slowly stands up, and he's very deliberate with his movements. As he goes to one corner of the mattress and very carefully turns around, and he's being very careful with lowering himself down to make sure it's just his pants that are, and he makes sure not to touch it with his arms or anything, or lean back too far to get ink splatter on it. And he just sits down.
The child smiles up at him.
March kind of just still looks at the child and kind of looks down at where he sits and just goes, "It's soft." Imagine he does that, that very like that testing little bounce a little bit.
Yeah.
But I imagine him doing it probably sends the kid up a little bit.
Yeah, that little counterweight
Yeah.
boing.
Boing.
And they give a silent like little giggle, just sort of, miming the action of it.
Mm-hmm.
And um they like try and imitate him with bouncing on it, but of course they are not nearly as heavy as he is, so he does not do a whole lot of boinging.
I think, yeah, he does not boing a bit, but he does. After seeing the child do it, I think he'll copy the child and then just like do a little boing again, send the child up.
And I imagine they just kind of like go back and forth like that for a little bit. The child is delighted.
March at the end has little sparkles in his eyes.
Mm.
He has also enjoyed this.
I'm gonna go ahead and oh God, I guess I would say March make a dex check to see how successfully he avoids inking up the mattress.
Oh boy. Just a straight dex, I can do that. 8. Oh no.
it
He doesn't have his
it
shirt
ends
on,
up
and he splatters.
yeah, he splatters it in a few places and um after a bit of the bouncing back and forth, the child notices this and ends up sort of like kind of like dragging a finger to sort of connect the splotches that have gotten left.
March, upon noticing, stiffens up and just goes, "Oh, sorry."
Mm. The child sort of looks between him and looks at the splotches and slowly like they do it very carefully in case he tries to stop them, but they reach out and sort of poke his arm.
Uh, hmm. March doesn't stop the kid from poking his arm. Though he is very closely watching. Um, hmm. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a check, and depending on it, I'll ask you to make a check. We'll have to see.
All right.
I'll just make it. Yeah, I'll make it that. Okay, no.
30/20.
Nothing really happens when you touch March's arm. Uh, you poke it, and you bring it back, and it's now has ink on it. It's wet ink.
The child sort of like rubs it between their fingers and very carefully um, draws a line on the mattress and just sort of stares at it.
March, I think, stares at it as well. For I think he takes a finger and pokes it into his own arm, uh, brings it back. It now has a bit of ink on it, and because now he's got the bubble fingers, and kind of looks hesitantly between the mattress and the child before very slowly drawing a line next to theirs.
And their tail flicks back and forth really fast as they're just like big eyes. Um,
Trying to think.
kid looks up at March and they've just got the expression on their face is just like you, you can tell it's just like kind of odd in a way.
Should I roll
Just
insight?
like sure.
All right. Watch as that one good insight check is the only good insight we get for the entire game. Nope, never mind.
Oh, dirty
It's a
20.
dirty 20. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah. You get that this kid is impressed by you and you know they've been following you, like they followed you here. They did a little bit of like, trying to copy you as you went around and did things. Um, and you were never quite sure why, but you're starting to get the feeling that the fact that you leave marks where you go is really, really amazing to them.
Hmm.
Like your inkiness is what kind of fascinates them.
Hmm. Huh. March blinks a few times uh, when he realizes this. And I think he looks back at the mattress that has few of the splotches and few of the connected dots that the child made with the ink. And then I think he raises his finger again that still has a bit of ink left on it. Then he looks at the child. And I think semi on a whim and maybe semi, I don't think he fully knows why he does it. I think he just reaches forward and just boops them on the nose. And now they just have a bit of ink on the tip of their nose.
And they their eyes, they're all red, but there's like you can there's a little bit of sort of like darker red pupil at the center. You can see them sort of like crossing their eyes to see it, and there's a little sort of they make a little squeak of surprise um as they like sort of reflexively wipe at it and
Much just squints. I think he actually offers his arm to the kid.
they like there's a little bit of sort of like vibrating realization as they poke it again and um get they poke it again with like more fervor, like they get multiple fingers in there. um and then they're trying to be sneaky and mischievous about it, but like it's written all over their face that they're just like before poking you on the mask where your nose would be.
And March chuckles a little bit, like, "Oh no."
And oh god, I need to actually how mm, there's a brief moment of like right after they poke at March's would-be nose and leave marks on his mask, and for a second they look a little bit freaked out, but and they just sort of like wait for his reaction.
Well, March laughs. He chuckles. He,
And
he has more. He does more
the
squinty eyes.
child smiles back, and looks a little bit excited.
Oh,
And
oh.
as they
Do you want to see something weird?
and they look expectantly.
Okay. So he pokes his finger in his arm again, and then draws a line, a visible inky line, onto the bed. Make sure the kid's watching.
They watch very closely.
He then wipes the finger off on his pants, so now the finger has no more ink on it. And he shows the bubble fingers, and then draws a line again on the bed, but no ink. And he just makes like a little, just like the calmest jazz hand at that. with sparkly eyes.
And Childs is just like, oh, and they like clap their hands.
I have no idea how this happened. Or well, kind of. I had some of that you know that potion stuff that Noctis was making for Tio?
They nod.
I dipped my fingers in it and then they became clear like this.
Child stares and then looks at their own hands. Mm.
I don't know if it would do the same to you. I think I know why it did it to me. But
Child, like they try like they're clearly like trying to figure out how to like hide their fingers so it looks like they don't have any on their hands to try and do an imitation of him. Finally, they just resort to like doing the thing where they hide their hands inside their sleeves.
Oh no, where did your hands go?
Child it like vibes like ah.
Ah. Much plays along. Oh no,
they
your hands.
they look they like spend a minute being like, oh, where the hands pop like out because they flared too much, and they're just like, oh,
Gasp.
hands.
Your hands. They're back. It's a miracle.
And there's a they are just like grinning very wide, very bright, and they bite their lip and very slowly they hold a hand out to you, March.
Much blinks and looks at the hand. Uh, are they holding a hand out like to shake?
No, they're offering a hand uh like they want to lead you somewhere.
Oh. I think March blinks before I feel like if he took the child's hand would be gone. Uh and I think the child's hand, and I think just one of his fingers is big enough just to fit in their hand. So I think he just puts one of his fingers into the child's hold and just
Child
nods.
like for a second they like just like squeeze one of his fingers like oh wet jelly bean before remembering what they were doing and leading him along, and they're not leading him far, they're just like leading him around the side of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sort of a old blank wall, lots of very faded chipped paint and weather worn wood,
Mm-hmm.
um and the child sort of places their hand against the wall and looks up expectantly at March.
March blinks before putting his own hand on the wall.
Child watches intently and pulls theirs back.
March pulls his hand back, and a and an inky handprint is left behind, or a half inky handprint. His fingers don't leave prints
Right.
anymore.
And they look very excitedly at that and put their hand on top of that handprint and look at how the ink comes away on their hand.
And it's just like a circle with a handprint in it.
And child that, and then there's they again for a moment look a little bit freaked out for again, just like putting their hand against the wall in other places, and like obviously it's diminishing returns on the ink prints left, but there's little bits of ink smears left behind, and their their tail is just like whipping back and forth like whoa.
March is watching this happen, and I think like at the last handprint, at the most faded handprint, until the ink on the kid's hand has dried up. Uh, March will March, I think, will sit down and just offer his arm.
um Child will like take his arm and just sort of like try and lead him so that just like this man is paintbrush. Just get a big old splotch on the wall.
March is not gonna stop this from happening. Oh my god! There is a dilapidated building with just a March-sized imprint in the wall.
Yeah. And from the mark left behind, the kid is just like tracing lines out from it, and just like testing it out. And how you doing, March?
Uh, roll perception for me. Let's see if it beats what I just
Perception.
rolled, then I will tell you. But if not,
20.
ooh, yep. Uh, uh, child, as you are basically using March's arm as a giant paintbrush, which is adorable, by the way. And does not seem to have any issue with this whatsoever. But with that's a 20. That's a dirty 20 on perception. You notice an odd feeling just beneath like the surface of March's inky arm, kind of like wriggling.
They kind of pause and look down and feel at his arm again.
March, upon seeing the child, has stopped for a second. Oh, what is it?
They blink, they look up at him, and um they're feeling more intently at his arm now.
Ah, do you want to roll insight now?
Just a straight 20.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
That's a
nat 20.
that's a nat 20. When you look up at March for the first time, you've had your moments of brief panic. But I think for the first time since you've first seen March, you actually see a bit of panic in his own eyes before he pulls his arm back.
Child staggers back and looks very concerned.
I Sorry, no, you're okay. And he looks at his arm a little bit. Just kind of smooths it down a little bit. Just smooths the ink on his arm. Uh, I should, I should probably stop today.
Child takes another step back and
Uh, as a D10 hammer space, uh, March reaches into his opposite arm, and pulls out a blob of ink, and just leaves that on the ground by the wall. It says, "Here, so you can still paint, but I should, yeah, uh, bye." And he's gonna, March is gonna quickly abscond. Not quickly, but a bit. He walks a bit faster as he leaves.
Child sort of watches him go. Um, they're very concerned. And then they look at the squiggles and scribbles and blotches left on the wall. Um, and they sort of worry their lip before running off into the forest again.
Oh, why? I think the I think the next day you still see March will still come out with an omelet. Actually, no, no, he comes out with two omelets. And should I roll perception or investigation to find the kid?
I think investigation.
All right. Oh dear. Fear. Whoa, that's a
Oh, a
two.
one.
It's a two, but he has a -1 modifier to his investigation.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna say you don't find the kid the next day.
Oh, I think he. I think what he does is that he, upon not finding the kid, he'll go over to he'll go over to the tree the trees he usually finds the kid and place the omelet down along with just like a little note that says sorry on it, and then leave it there for the child to find.
Fortunately, the kid can't read.
Ah, shit. Child, he has left a note with some indiscernible cipher for you.
It must mean that he's angry with me.
Oh no.
No. But unless there's another note you want to end on, I know that's not the happiest thing to leave it with, but that might be a good stopping point.
Yeah, I can't. I only imagine March will still bring out food, but I don't imagine the child will come out.
Uh, Not for now.
Yeah, not for now. Then yeah, I think that's the place to end it for now.
Yay. Ah, well, thank you, folks, for listening to Mostly Soft.
Yeah,
A little sad,
a little
but
sad.
still,
There'll be opportunities in the future for them to.
it is early yet.
Yeah, there is the future is still undetermined. So until
Hmm.
then, we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
We